IF, Skip Bayless, Molly Karam, Stephen A. And before we start, Stephen A., you don't know what just happened. Skip is here. I'm waiting to get mic'd up, and there are 3 ladies swarming him because they're all fighting over who gets to mic up Skip, hoping he's in a good mood today. I'm like, is this really happening, ladies, man?
Well, first of all, he's in a good mood every day because he's with me.
Oh,
secondly,
please.
and more importantly,
you got me
secondly, and more importantly, I'm glad you saw Mr. Suave. You know, this is the dude that needs makeup artists and folks spraying his hair. I mean, this is that Skip. So
true.
I'm glad you told the nation about it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh. But bottom line, my heart belongs to one and only one female, and she knows who she is.
Yes,
that's
Ernestine.
Right. Hold on.
Course.
I will vouch for that.
Yes.
That is absolutely true. No question about it. Anybody that tries to get in his way and deny that, I will fight on his behalf.
Thank you.
That is absolutely correct.
That's the truth. Your better half. But you still got it there, Skip. We'll leave it at that. About last night, LeBron still got it as well. The Cavs became the 4th team in NBA history to win each of its first 10 games of a single postseason after a dominating 19-point win over the Raptors in Game 2. LeBron James led the way with his 15th career postseason triple-double. So the question I asked you, Skip, are the Cavs that good, or are the Raptors just that bad?
Stephen A., I got to tell you, in all my years of watching playoff basketball, I'm not sure I have ever seen a team that made it to its conference finals be that embarrassingly bad, especially on defense, in the first 2 games of the conference finals. So I'm going to pin almost all this on Toronto. And yet, I got to make the point, obviously, this is no disrespect intended to LeBron and company, a team that clearly has found itself in its flow, in its way, has taken off right on schedule, right on time, and is playing at an extremely high finals here we come level. Take nothing away from that. But come on. I'm going to first repeat what Molly laughed at me for saying yesterday. Mannequins could play. Mannequins could play better defense than the Raptors have played in 2 full games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And what's mind-blowing to me, and I'm definitely not blaming Dwayne Casey for this, Stephen A., but his expertise as he came up through the ranks, Coach Casey's, was defense. He was a defensive guru, teaching, coaching defense. I'm not blaming him for this. I'm blaming his players for just flat-out quitting on him, especially last night. All-time embarrassing. And I must say that LeBron James, after 13 years in the NBA, finally did participate in a dunk contest, and it was last night during the game. I kept waiting for the Toronto bench to start holding up numbers. Everybody down the bench, 10, 10, 9, 10, 9. That's what they should have done, because it was just a flat-out dunking exhibition by LeBron that ended at halftime with LeBron being so full of himself, as he deserved to be. He missed a half-court shot and just kept running and hung on the rim to end the half, just to say, in your face. It was just blatant shaming of Toronto to me. So LeBron James, and everybody's heard the stat already, I just got to say it because I love it so much, he made 18 shots last night from an average of 1.6 feet, and it counts 1 foot per dunk, so you can do your math. I'm sorry, 18 in the series. 1.6 feet per shot on 18 made. And now, in Game 1, LeBron made in the restricted area, we know how small that little area is, 11 out of 12. And now in Game 2, in the restricted area, he made 6 of 7. So for the series, 17 of 19 shots LeBron has made in the restricted area. So we have layup drill plus dunk contest equals no defense by Toronto. We know that Valanciunas has missed the first 2 games. Now they're saying he will miss the 3rd game. And I'm not saying he was any candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, Stephen A., but he is a pretty good rim protector. He will fight back. He does know how to play basketball. Apparently nobody else has any fight in them, any drive in them, or any idea of how to defend anyone in the paint on defense. And as you well know, through the first 2 series of playoff series the Cavaliers played, they were all-time hot from the three-point line. They averaged in those first 8 games, obviously 2 sweeps, they made 17 threes a game on 36 attempts. Against Toronto, they've gone 7 of 20 and 7 of 21 because they don't even need to shoot threes anymore against this team. And LeBron, 18 of 21 shots he's made in the paint. He's now 0 for 5 outside the paint because it just doesn't matter. LeBron brought it up himself last night with Doris Burke. I've only made 11 of 21 free throws. It just doesn't matter because it might in the next round, but it doesn't right now. So to me, my takeaway from those first 2 games, Stephen A., in all my years of covering the NBA, never have I been so embarrassed for a team that made it to the conference finals.
Well, what I would ask you to do is be a little bit considerate in this respect. Valanciunas being out is a very, very big deal because he and Biyombo are their only big men. Everybody else essentially are small forwards or guards. That's what we're talking about here with the Toronto Raptors. It's not just a matter of quitting, Skip. Cleveland is just too big for them and too athletic. And when your 2 best players, being the Toronto Raptors, are DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, but you directly have to face off against LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, plus they have support and you don't because you have no depth, what do you expect them to do? It's one of those situations where you're really, just from a physical standpoint, you are undermanned and undersized. That's what this is about. When you look at LeBron James, all 17 of his shots have been scored in the paint in the series. All 17. He hasn't made a shot outside the paint. He hasn't had to. You know, there have been dunks. There have been layups. I mean, granted, there are times when the defensives have lapsed because there's nobody in the vicinity, and that is the truth. But the flip side is because everybody is overcompensating, trying to help here, trying to help there, and then all of a sudden somebody is open for a layup. Cleveland is just too big, too athletic, too long, too strong for Toronto. This is a matchup nightmare for the Toronto Raptors. That's all that's going on here. Certainly, you've got a situation where guys are demoralized because they're missing shots, and we'll talk about that later with Kyle Lowry. You got guys that are on the court literally feeling absolutely positively helpless because they don't have the personnel. And it's not just about skills. It's literally about big bodies. They don't have any other than Biyombo. Even Patterson is essentially a small forward. That's what's going on here. That's their problem. That's why I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, you know, I feel bad for them. I feel sad for them. I'm not disgusted with them because I see just a flagrant lack of effort. I do see where you're coming from, but that's after, Skip, hopelessness kicks in because they're completely demoralized because they have no answer. That's what this is about. This is not about laying down on a coach. It's not about quitting on Dwayne Casey. It's not about any of that. It's about, damn, there's nothing I can do. I can't stop this guy. I can't stop that guy. And then you got to remember, one of your 2 all-stars is Kyle Lowry. Who is he going up against? One of the best offensive players in the game in Kyrie Irving. The thing is, Kyrie dances on him, goes by him, and scores because there's no one on the interior to impede anything that Kyrie or anybody else wants to do. But then Kyle Lowry tries to pull off the same, and he goes there. There's a Kevin Love there. There's a Tristan Thompson there. There's a LeBron James and his athleticism there. And so what happens is that relegates you into being strictly a perimeter player, but then your shot's not falling. It's incredibly, incredibly demoralizing.
Yep.
And I think that's the word that I don't think it's about quitting. I think it's about sheer helplessness because they know they have no answer for this team. If Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love were the stars and they had average wing players to go up against DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, you'd be talking a different ball game. The problem is that the strength of the Cleveland Cavaliers is exactly the strength of the Toronto Raptors and LeBron and Kyrie, except obviously with LeBron, it's far more formidable than anything Toronto could throw at them. So demoralization, again, is the key word here. That's what you're looking at. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing a team that is hopeless and helpless. They know they have no answer because they don't have the bodies, they don't have the size, they don't have the athleticism, and they don't have the skill to compete with this Cleveland Cavaliers squad. That's what's going on here.
Wouldn't you agree that in this series so far, a LeBron James, who often serves as the point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, has been the best big man on the floor for either team?
Sure.
He is. He's the best big man. It's unbelievable to me.
But wait a minute. It's unbelievable until you look at Toronto's roster. And then it's not unbelievable at all.
But where is Biyombo? I mean, I remember he had what was it, like 16 or 17 rebounds in Game 7 against Miami? And there's no Whiteside, no Bosh, obviously. I think I got
the point is, Skip, Miami was missing shots. Because outside of Dwayne Wade, Goran Dragic was inconsistent. He'd explode one game. He'd disappear the next. Joe Johnson was relatively pedestrian, aggressive one game, not aggressive the next. Or he was aggressive or non-aggressive from quarter to quarter. Chris Bosh is out. Hassan Whiteside is out. Justice Winslow is a defensive ace. Josh Richardson is a rookie on the come-up, who I love, but he's a rookie on the come-up. You had guys in Miami missing shots because, again, it was guard play against guard play. Even though LeBron is primarily a wing guy, he has the mass, the size to be inside more so than the Joe Johnsons, the Dwayne Wades, the Goran Dragics of the world. LeBron James can post you up at 6'9", 250 and take the ball inside. Biyombo don't have an answer for that. None of them have an answer for that.
No.
And especially if you're Biyombo and you know you've got to try to stay in the game, because if you can't, then Dwayne Casey will have no choice but to put a bunch of small forwards out there. So he's got to stay in the game. He's got to be judicious in this physicality because he can't get into foul trouble. They have no answer. That's what's going on here.
The only way you can counter this kind of superiority in the paint is to make three-point shots. And now for the playoffs, DeMar DeRozan, one of the Toronto Stars, is 4 for 23 from the three-point line. And we know that Kyle Lowry has once again gone completely south. We're going to discuss this topic and hit it head on in a few minutes. But I think we both should at least acknowledge that he left the court last night. And again, it was 46-all at one point, and right around that time, Kyle Lowry goes to the locker room to decompress, he said, and all of a sudden, the game gets completely out of hand. Have you ever seen anything like it? Because I have not.
No, I have not. But it just, listen, it was a bad move on his part. It's a very, very bad look. It's something that no one will forget about him because it's lack of mental toughness for you to be willing to leave the bench when the game is tied just because you're having a bad game. That's a bad look. I will tell you, I've known Kyle Lowry since he was at Villanova. He's tough as nails, highly competitive, a class guy in every sense of the word. And this is foreign to him, Skip. It's one thing to not shoot the ball well, but against this team, he can't seem to do anything right. And more so than at any point in his career, he's called upon so desperately to help out because DeMar DeRozan can't do it by himself. And nobody else on Toronto is equipped to help him outside of Kyle Lowry. And so when you're missing shots like that, you just become incredibly demoralized. But let's be clear, there's no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, I get you when you say he's tough as nails, and I've always viewed him as a very physical guard, could bang with you, could take you inside.
Mentally tough, too, until last night.
Until last night. That was not a good look.
That's not a good look.
Yeah.
No question.